yes, ma'am.
I've answered to it.
Okay.
Good to go.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's October 11th, 2022. We're meeting a little bit after 1 o'clock for the Williamsport City Council Finance Committee meeting. You have to excuse my voice today. I'm a little scratchy, so I might be sucking on some cough drops while we're talking. Anyhow, in attendance today are myself and Eric Biter from Council. Chief Sam Ongst from the Fire Department is here. Gary Narr, our zoning official, is here. Matthew Walter is here to talk about the codes issue item we're going to be discussing today. Kristen Lucier is here to talk about the contract with Next Request on purchasing. Excuse me, I'm being interrupted by my phone buzzing. Purchasing software for right to know requests. Peb Woodring is here from our I'm having a brain freeze right now, sorry. Our controller is here, and Janice Frank, our city clerk, is here as well. So I want to move item 4 up to the top first. I don't see the mayor here yet. We were going to have a brief discussion update on financial things, but there really isn't anything major, but he may come in at some point. So we'll move to item 4, resolution accepting a contract with Next Request to purchase right to know software. We have had a discussion already in finance with Kristen. So we have covered the basics of this. Is there anything new or different that you have to add, Kristen?
I don't think there's anything necessarily new that we haven't covered, unless Janice, you're thinking of something that I might be missing.
Okay. Eric, do you have any further questions on this?
I do not.
Kristen, there's been some internal discussion in the city government about updating some other software in areas that we have, like finance and HR and some other things. I don't know how that would, if they're compatible to fit in with each other. Can you speak to any of that kind of technical things?
Yeah, so Next Request focuses entirely on right to know requests and that whole process. We are now part of a company called Civic Plus, which does a whole bunch of other things. So if there is an interest in other types of software, that's something that can be discussed. However, the Next Request side of things is kind of what I focus on and what this specifically would be geared towards.
All right.
When did that acquisition happen?
I want to say it was around June or so. It was spring.
Okay.
Or summer.
So not since we last spoke.
No, this has been on for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
And we've already covered the definite need that we have for to address right to know. It's grown exponentially. I'd say most of the growth has been over the last 5 years. Would you say, Janice, agree with that? I'm sorry, Janice, you're muted. Can you hear me, Janice? Okay. Can anybody hear me? Okay, Eric gave me a thumbs up. All right, well,
Randy? Okay, got it. I was going to say it's grown more probably since the 2019 pandemic.
okay, all right.
So the last 3 years, it's really
It seems-
doubled, tripled.
Yeah, it exploded because we get, and we need to reduce.
And right, I gave council samples. Randy, you've always seen them, but Eric, you got all the samples, right? Eric, are you there?
Yeah,
I did, sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, so they're all different.
right.
You know, one direction to another. It's crazy.
Okay, well, yeah, that I'd say that covers the issue as far as reviewing in this committee. So we don't have a vote. So we'll have a vote Thursday night on this, and council as a body will discuss it more if that's the intention. So, okay, well, thank you, Kristen and Janice.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen.
Thank you. If you all have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
I noticed our city engineer, John Sanders, joined as well to the meeting. So we'll move to item 2 then, resolution authorizing agreement Mr. Walter, who are you here with? I'm sorry.
Mr. Allison, what he's here is for the Barry Isaac and Associate. He's the BCO that's issuing permits and reviewing everything with the city at this point with the codes.
I assumed that was it, but I wanted to make sure. Okay, we're going to move back up to item 2 then. Resolution authorizing agreement by professional services with Barry Isaac and Associate. So, Mr. Nar.
What I bring before you today is a request. Back in July, the city went under contract for professional service with Barry Isaac and Associates regarding issuing permits under what we call BCO as a building code official. A building code official is basically someone that basically issues the permit, does certificate of occupancies, has the ability to go out and do inspections and that type of things. At this point in time, with everything that we have had them do is above and beyond of what we contracted them for as strictly as a BCO service, which is issuing permits and certificates. With all the development that the city has overseen in the last 6 months to year or so, we now not only need services as a BCO, but someone who can plan review. So when we get the construction drawings, they can review those type of things, go out and do those type of inspections. So at this point in time, again, when we originally contracted with them in July, it was just strictly as for BCO services. What this proposal will go is from the $90 to the $120 will allow them for to plan review, to go out and do inspections under the construction. Because at this point in time, we do not have anybody within the Bureau of Codes that's qualified to do any of the inspections. So therefore, he reviews all the documents, make sure that they're compliant, make sure that they're complete. And then he also goes out and does these type of inspections, or has different individuals that do both plan review, can go out and do these inspections so that we can continue to have him issue permits. So you do have a copy of the contract that we have. I think it's vital that obviously it's a need that we must have within the city until we figure out what we're doing. And Matt can answer any questions that you have, and I as well.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Eric, questions, comments?
I have no questions about the contract. Obviously, this is something that we need, and considering the East End development in Old City that we're currently underway with, and then the West End Terrace up on Wisteria Lane, the building that's going on up there, this is a service that we're going to see a value out of. My bigger question is, what is the process that the administration has undergone to secure somebody in-house, have an employee for that? So I don't, you kind of touched on that. I don't really think there is one at the moment. So I would be very interested to know what that is, what that looks like going into the future.
I can tell you, and obviously, like I said, from the mayor's standpoint, they've advertised throughout, obviously, the city's website. We've advertised throughout Indeed. We've reached out to different organizations for looking for someone who is actually qualified. There's no sense in trying to find someone that, hey, well, I can take all the testings and stuff like that. We need someone who's qualified and willing to move to this area. And that poll that we're pulling from, obviously, we just haven't found anybody that's interested. We've reached out to some other organizations to see, how they've obviously reached out to different individuals and brought them aboard. But at this point in time, that's the avenue that we're going forward. We'd like to have someone in-house, obviously, to run the codes department. I would love to have someone in-house that would run the codes department. But at this point in time, like I said, we just haven't found anybody who is qualified as a BCO and has all of these services to move forward and bring them into the city and have him be a code official for the city. I hope that answers your question. Like I said, I know where we've advertised. I've reached out to numerous different agencies, different third-class cities that how they've done it recently, what maybe we're doing different that they are, that have attracted them. At this point in time, we've had several candidates. It's just none of them are either qualified completely as a BCO or that are looking at basically moving within this area in order to perform that. They would rather just do via remote, that type of thing. And that's kind of a hard thing for us to do because of what their functionality would be.
Got it. It answers it slightly. I understand hiring is a challenge no matter what. Obviously you're functioning right now with as almost a dual role. You're kind of overseeing a couple of things. Is that correct, Mr. Nair?
Yes, that's correct. I'm still doing all my zoning responsibilities. I work with Matt Walters regarding scheduling of inspections. I do go out with him on some, obviously, so it just enhances my knowledge as far as what's going on. And I do oversee the staff, and I am actually working on putting a budget for next year as well.
Okay. All right. So you're going to be presenting the budget then for that. All right. Thank you very much.
Gary, has there been discussion with the administration about the increased cost that this is going to build into the budget? Do we have any?
And again, that's what we're looking at now. We're going to obviously take that into consideration. I know the second half of the year going into December, we've obviously had some costs from Mr. Girardi's budget line items that we're actually utilizing now. So I'm taking a look at that with this added service that they are going to provide Barry Isaac, and look at a budget from that standpoint as far as how we move forward so that we're not basically taking anything away and build it into the budget in order for us to move forward. We do have several large projects, obviously the East End project. We have things going on. We have Old City. We have the T. Ross Brothers with homes going in up there, possibly phase 2. So we have a lot of development, and these are some of the things that I can take a look at to help build everything into a good budget so that we don't have any shortfalls for the next fiscal year.
Okay, that's a good approach. That's as good as you can make at this point, I would assume. So, okay, well, we definitely need this function to be able to do things as a city, and so And their background and all their qualifications are great. So, you know, this is a solid contractual agreement that's going to help us get through this time. So I guess there's no other questions, and we'll see you Thursday night then.
If I can ask one other quick question.
Yeah.
Mr. Nart, have we gotten any applicants that, let's just say that they are unwilling to move within the city limits? Or
No,
they-
that's not the general. It's just the ones finding someone who is qualified here in the area. Again, that can do basically everything that right now currently we're having Barry Isaac and Associates do. I mean, when you have a BCO, it's not just someone who can say, I'm just going to issue a permit. It's when you get a multi-million-dollar land development and they have to review those plans, make sure they're constructurally sound. As long as follow that through that whole process of not just planning and reviewing those type of documents, but once the permit is actually approved, then we have to have those individuals that have the certification that can go out and do each one of the inspections right down to footings, concretes, moving forward as far as all of that requirement in order to issue them a CO in the very end. So it's a tough job basically to look at and actually attract people that are qualified so that we're not in a position where we currently are at this point in time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Biter, this is Chief Unks. We did have a few applicants who put in for the job. However, at least two of them that I'm aware of did not want to move into the city. One of them was from the Milton area, Northumberland, down that way. And I don't quite remember where the other one was from, but there was at least two of them that I recall that did not want to move into the city and therefore removed themselves from that. So just to give you a heads up.
Thank you, Chief.
I appreciate that, Chief. That's good information to know.
Yeah. We may have to have a discussion about that at some point. We need to function as a city. Our functions as a city are to be able to function in any capacity is our number one, I'd say, responsibility to our citizens. Everything else should come second to that. So that's just my feeling. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for updating us.
Thank you.
We'll move to item 3 then. Resolution authorizing the city of Williamsport's IT personnel to purchase laptops for the city clerk and city council. This says Mr. Yoder is presenting, so we know that's not going to happen. He's not here. So Chris, can you speak to this?
I can somewhat, sir. About 3 months ago, Mr. Yoder asked me to start getting some pricing together for laptops or some type of mobile device for the council members. I came up with 3 different solutions. And then last week he wanted some more final numbers on those. And with the one product that we both kind of agreed would be the best fit, which is an HP laptop, one for each of the council members plus Ms. Frank, and the accessories and everything to go along with it. It comes out to just a little bit more than $8,000.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. And we have had discussions about this ongoing actually for a few years now. Mr. Byer.
Yeah, this was something that Mr. Yoder and I had talked about in the past couple of months as well. With my urging, I had mentioned just the need for technology and the ease of use for every single council person and the city clerk to have the same technology. So that way, and also IT to be able to step in and make sure security control is the same throughout devices because of the way that the world is today with malware and hacking and things like that. I thought it would be much more beneficial for us to all have the same device to be able to use.
Exactly. It's going to be more efficient. It saves us printing of paper. Now, some of us already bring our own laptops to council meetings, but it just makes sense to have the technology separated for city government purposes, not mixed with our own personal laptops. And this would not belong to the council person. This belongs to the city. It belongs to whatever council is functioning. So that's going to be passed on to the next person that would fill any of our seats. But it'll be so much cleaner and more efficient, functional, and in the end, we're going to save money by having it done this way. And to be truthful, it's the 21st century. If we want to stay current as a city government, we need to do things like this, not only the hardware, but the software. We've been over the years falling behind on all of that. So yeah, again, it's an infrastructure thing that we need to keep up with to be able to stay at the front of issues and everything we deal with. City government's gotten a lot more complicated over the past 12 years, previous 12 years that I was on. And this really simplifies it in a lot of ways. At least I think most of us agree on that. So thank you, Mr. Biter, you and Mr. Yoder for heading this up. And thank you, Chris, for updating us on those things.
Of course.
Again, no vote, so we'll just move on to the next item. For the public's knowledge, we did not go with the Cadillac laptops. We went with the cheapest one we could find, but functional and a good one. It's a different one. But since it's going to be strictly used for only council and city government purposes, it doesn't need a lot of bells and whistles. Okay. Next on the agenda is item 5, and resolution for global data consultants to provide information technologies services. Mr. Black.
Yeah, good afternoon. What you have is a resolution to contract with global data consultants, or also known as GDC, for basically phone system support. Our phone system was purchased through Windstream, who no longer supports that particular brand or model. And when you go back to the manufacturer, they say you must go back to the people you purchased it from. Yeah, don't you love it? And I just stumbled across them by accident talking about some other projects that we're looking at. And they mentioned that they support the Allwork system. And so we came up with a little bit of an agreement. This is basically for their time and materials. I am recommending at this point in the year just to go with the option 3, which is at the flat rate of $125 an hour. And we'll use them as needed at that point. If we find that in the future that we want to have them on call more often, we can look at bumping that up. but I think the 125 an hour is a very, very reasonable rate for what they can do for us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mr. Biter.
My question would be then simply is, I agree with everything in this contract as far as just the 125 an hour for the rest of the year. But when would we be looking at a phone system upgrade for the city? When was this one put in place, and what's the lifespan on those, and so on?
According to the last time I saw the capital budget, I'm not sure when the last one was put in place, but they were looking at, it was either, I believe it was year 2024 for replacement on the current phone system. The way technology trips over itself, 5 years you might look at. I'd like to push them further than that. And if we decide that we do like the service that they provide, they do also provide the All Works systems. They are on state contract. And if we stick with an All Works system, we might not have to switch out all the phones. We can just switch out the core system itself. That's if we go that route, and we'll look at that when we get to that point.
Sure. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
So, okay, on the pricing, and I agree with the 125 an hour. But what is that going to translate to in hours? Do you have any kind of idea?
Initially, I'm looking at probably 4 hours, but it could be, some of the stuff could, for them, could be just their travel time, and then the block of an hour here working on it. Most of it has to do with our menuing system within the phone, the voicemail menu. Like press 1 for Chris Black, press 2 for Mr. Biter, is getting those items changed around.
Okay.
I can't find where it's at, and nobody gives me answers.
Okay.
So at this point, yeah, I think they're worth $125 an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's the only question I had. And another one of those things in-house maintenance, we got to take care of. All right, very good. We're down to any related items. Any other issues anyone wants to bring up in finance today?
I would just like to say, for the record, in relation to item number 1, we've had 2 budget sessions already with the administration, and Scott Livermore from Streets and Parks has been more than helpful. I was very impressed by his presentation that he gave us last week. And I really hope that the rest of the administration can follow his example and continue to do the same. And that'll make this process come November and December much easier as we get into the budget season.
Right. Okay. No other questions or comments. I think that'll be the end of the meeting today. Thank everybody for
Mr. Awesome.
Yes.
As far as the vehicles, I know before the meeting started, we briefly talked about that, but is that something that we can discuss now due to the time crunch?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know you had some, some more to add to it, but certainly let's go over it. Okay. We're discussing, for anybody who's jumping in late online, we're discussing the dire need to replace some vehicles in our codes department due to the deterioration of the vehicles over their way past their use by date. So, and they're deteriorating in the frame and the body itself, and won't pass inspection again. So we need to come up with a plan to replace 6 vehicles. Mr. Ungst.
So as Gary Narr had mentioned earlier, we're down to about 1.5 vehicles. We say a half a vehicle because sometimes it runs, sometimes it doesn't. The mechanic had made mention that the rust, it passed the vehicles, some of them passed inspection, but next time won't pass. Well, this half vehicle will not pass inspection the next time. So then we'd be down to 1 vehicle for 4 codes officers, the zoning officer, and the building code official. So what we're proposing is, I've done a lot of research looking for vehicles, fleet vehicles and such. A lot of them, the Chevy Trailblazer in particular, was the order time frame had lapsed. I think it was back in the beginning of August that they were taking no more orders. So I reached out to the state. The gentleman from the state directed me to a John Lehman from Whitmoyer Automotive Group, and they are a CoStar's valid company, and he drew up this proposal for us in about 2 days. So again, for each vehicle, I believe it was the CoStar's price was $28,200. So for 6 of them, that came out to $169,200.
So Chief Funks, do you have, so you have a hard copy of all that, or?
Yes, and I did forward it to you on both of your emails
Okay.
while you were opening the meeting.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Okay, we can pass that on to the rest of council, and then everybody will have that. And we can, yeah, okay.
I know it's last minute, and I didn't get this to Janice. I apologize for that. It came in late. I shouldn't say late, but it was after noon on Friday when we finally received the quote.
Well, yeah, we'll pass this on to the rest of council, and also talk to Council President Yoder and let him once he's aware of it, then we can.
Yep.
He'll lead us in that discussion with council.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it then. Okay, thanks everybody. And those, I see Bonnie Kath is on, and I'll see you in an hour, Bonnie. Okay, take care, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.